Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Thorley, and today we'll be doing a webinar on scheduling in Protractor. You should be able to see my Protractor screen. It should be full screen. If it's not, I believe there's a button in the upper right of your any meeting to make this full screen and make it a little easier to view. If anybody is not seeing my screen, please put in the chat box. Also, as we go through the webinar today, please feel free to use that chat box to ask questions. We will be taking a couple breaks during the session and try to answer any open questions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. This webinar is on scheduling in Protractor, and I wanted to do this for a couple reasons. One, scheduling is absolutely critical to a shop, right? Your most limited resource is technician time. And technician time is one of those things that if you don't sell all your tech time for a day, it perishes. You can't bank it. You can't save it for the next day. It's gone. And if you book too much technician time for a day, you run out and you can't produce the revenue if you don't have the technician time. So correctly managing your technician hours is one of the most important, also most challenging thing for a shop to do. The other interesting thing is we work with hundreds and hundreds of shops, and scheduling is one of the things that we find that is probably the most different from shop to shop. So what I'm going to show today is how Protractor has been designed to do scheduling. Some people are coming off other systems, other scheduling methods, and initially, a lot of times people try to get Protractor to do it the way their old system did it or the way they were used to. So I'm going to show how Protractor was designed to do it. With that said, scheduling is also something that I say, if whatever you're doing today is working for you, keep doing it. Like I said, the most important thing is to load these hours correctly. And if you've got a working system, don't change it. If it's not ideal and you're not doing things the way I described today, then give this a shot and let's see if it'll help you out. Okay, the first thing I want to do is look at the setup, because one of the things that's important is loading the right amount of technician hours in a day. So I'm going to go to Setup and Hours, and there's shop hours. So shop hours is when is my shop open, and that's helpful in terms of scheduling, because I say my shop closes at 5. That means that if a job's not going to be done until after 5, it's going to turn red because it's not done by the end of the day. Also shows a Sunday as a closed day. So make sure your shop hours are set up correctly for the hours the doors are actually open. Then we go to employee hours, and I'm going to start with the schedule overview. So you see a calendar here, and it tells you how many technicians and how many hours are working that day. So these hours are important. This should not be, let me make sure I emphasize that, this is not the amount of hours the technicians are in the building. Some people set this up that way, but I do not recommend it. The most important thing, because these hours are going to be used for scheduling. This is not the time clock to track their attendance. This is used for scheduling. So what you want to load is how many hours that technician is going to turn that day. So let me pick one of my days with all 3 techs working. So if you go down to the bottom here, my tech advisor, I have working from 11 to 5. Now he's actually working from 8 to 5 with a 1-hour lunch in there. But as I commented, what I really want to track is how many hours does he turn. He's going to turn 6 hours in a day. So I start with my closing time, 5 o'clock, and I back up 6 hours to 11 a.m. So he's loaded for 6 hours for the day, and it's going to be most accurate as we approach 5 o'clock, which is the most important time to get the scheduling correct. Tim is an 8-hour. He's going to turn 8 hours in the day, so I go from 9 to 5. And Tommy is my star. He's going to turn 10 hours in a day, so I have him loaded from 7 to 5. Again, he may not come in to work till 8 or 9 o'clock. That's okay. I want to load how many hours these guys are going to turn, because when I go and look at my scheduler in a couple minutes, I want to see that I can load 24 hours worth of work, and that's what these 3 add up to. Now, John Doe is also listed here, but you notice he doesn't have a check mark for technician. That means he's a service advisor, so it's not nearly as important to set up your service advisor schedules in here. Okay, so once we've got that set up correctly, we're ready to go and look and see a couple different ways that we can schedule appointments for customers. So there are 3, maybe 4 ways of scheduling an appointment. And one thing that's nice about Protractor is you can have multiple windows open. So I may have this work order open in its own tab. I may be looking at the scheduler. I could have multiple windows open. Somebody calls in and wants to do an appointment. I go back to my prioritization screen and I click new appointment. Now, I'll start with the absolute quickest way to do it. So if you're busy, there's somebody standing in front of you and you know this person on the phone, they're a frequent customer, and you just want to record this and get off the phone as quickly as possible. You can free type in this contact and service item box. This is Betty, and she's coming in with her Ford Focus, and she needs an oil change. When's she coming in? I'm going to click on the scheduled at the top, and here's where you see this monthly calendar, and it shows me how many appointments I have for the day, how many hours booked, and how many total hours available. Now, the hours available doesn't go down when you book some appointments. So I currently have 11 out of 14 booked today. I've got nothing booked for tomorrow. So Betty, you're going to come in tomorrow. Up here's the time. So I click on the date. This changed to the date. And then up here is the time. I always recommend clicking on the time clock icon. I think it's easiest and most exact. And she's going to bring it in tomorrow at 8:30. I'm going to say okay. Scheduled for tomorrow at 8:30. The duration, let me talk about duration for a second. Duration is only used to block off the scheduler, the calendar for that day, for the hours until you put jobs on a ticket. Once you create a work order and put jobs, the duration becomes the amount of billed hours on the ticket. This duration is only as a placeholder until you actually build the work order. So I just typed in Betty Ford Focus, the time, note to myself, and say, okay. Very quick, very easy. I've now got that tracked for tomorrow. Now, let's say whoever I'm working with in front of me is no longer there. I've taken care of them. They're sitting down. I've got some time to go back and fill out that appointment. I can go back to my scheduler. I'm going to look at Tuesday. This is Betty, her Ford Focus. Now I'm going to double click on it, and I can click the binoculars and actually look up the customer and vehicle. And so I don't think I actually have a Betty in my system. Let's change this to Nicole. And she might have a Ford. Well, we're going to change. I had this wrong. It's a Honda Accord. So now the difference here is instead of free typed in text, I've now tied it to a specific customer, specific vehicle. That's going to save some time when I go to create the work order. Because this is for tomorrow, I could go ahead and create this work order. So I'm going to say to work order. And what you'll see is when it comes over, it's automatically going to have the customer and vehicle selected because I've already done that. On the note here, it shows that it was an oil change. So when I get to the next screen, I can do my oil change and add this to the ticket. In this case, I don't see any past services. I haven't done one on this vehicle before. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that. So you get the idea. I can quickly grab the appointment, schedule it, and then move it to a work order when I have more time. So the first method is doing the new appointment, just free typing in. Second method, if you have a little more time, I could click the binoculars, select the customer and vehicle, and still put in a note. The third way I could do an appointment is I could just create a new work order. And this is going to walk me through the normal work order screen. I'm going to pick Nicole and that Honda Accord. It's warning me that she's already in there. Create a new work order. And I'm going to go ahead and put that oil change on there. Of course, I can't type. Okay, and by going through the wizard, it would ask me for deferred work, would ask me for reminder items. I'm going to go ahead and get to the ticket. It's automatically, it sees an oil change, it's automatically going to put the capacity and viscosity on there. Now, when I get to this point, what's important is the status of this work order. So I have the appointment also set for right now. So two things I want to do. If this is actually an appointment, I need to change both things. I'm going to click on appointment. Again, I can see my calendar when I'm going to do it. This appointment is for tomorrow at 9 a.m. And then I want to make, and if you notice, because I did not assign a technician, status automatically changed to scheduled work. Now, let me show you one thing that sometimes messes people up. I'm going to assign a technician. This is going to Tim. Now, as soon as I assigned a technician, this changed to inspection in progress. If I save and close right now, this is going to look like an in-progress inspection. So if you're using a third-party digital inspection, this may show up on their screen now as an available vehicle. But because this is a scheduled appointment, even though I did the technician, I still want to change the status to future work, which also is called scheduled work. Now, when I save and close this, it is going to get pushed to tomorrow. Does not show up for today at all. And if I jump to tomorrow, I can see that appointment I just made. So that's 3 ways of doing an appointment. A fourth way could be is if you want to go to the scheduler itself, you can just double click on a date range. You get the same appointment screen. And here again, you could just free type in, or you can click the binoculars to look up the contact and service item. So a couple different ways to get the appointments on there. But the one thing I guess I want to stress before I get to the next step is what I'm really trying to do is look at the hours I have booked. So when I get this month view, you can set the thresholds. I have it set for yellow, I think if it's 20%, orange if it's 80%, and red if it's over 100%. A lot of times shops will shoot for, let's say, 80% load because it gives them some ability to upsell additional work on those vehicles that come in. And you'll find whatever works best for your shop, but you can set up, and let me show you that real quick, under Setup, Location Settings, and Scheduler. Here's where you do those load factors. So what do you want to see? Do you want to see it turn, orange at 80%, red at 100%? That helps you on that calendar view see what's available, when can I book appointments, when am I fully booked, and I don't want to do any more on that day. All right, the other important thing is this scheduler view should only be used to sell future days. This is not meant for today. The last thing I want to do is go to April 1st and try to manage my technicians today off this view. It's not meant to do it that way. And some people are used to doing that in their old system. I really recommend you try the way Protractor was designed. So this books future days. When we get to today, we go to the prioritization screen and the technician tab here at the bottom. Now, this technician screen is like a digital job board. There's a lot of information here. And for some people, this is different than anything they've seen before. So it takes a little bit to get used to. So let me try to highlight some of the important features. First of all, I have a column for each tech. If your screen keeps resorting itself and putting the tech with the most jobs on the left, and that can be confusing at times, if you click on any tech's name, so you see this blue box around the tech, and drag that tech, see the red line in Protractor, the red line is always where you're dragging something. Now that I've changed that order, I'll change here in a second. Now that I've changed it, it's locked in. So you just have to touch it one time. Now this will not resort itself and keep moving the technicians around. So put this in whatever order makes the most sense for you. Next thing is you notice this little clock next to the technician's name. that is a visual indicator for me that that technician is clocked into something. And then I look down this left-hand bar and I see the clock here. So I know this technician is working on this job. You also have a green bar going across. That green bar is the amount of time he spent on it. So this is a 4.4-hour ticket. If I hover my mouse over it, and I can't move the mouse and highlight it, but if you look at the fourth line down in that pop-up window, it says technician, tech advisor, 3.5 out of 4.4 hours. He's 79% done. So this ticket has 4.4 hours on it. He's currently clocked in 3.5 hours, so he should be 79% done. So the finish time is going to reflect that he's 79% done with this work. Now, the other thing is these gray tags at the bottom left of the job. These gray tags, in this case it's 1:11 p.m., are when is the technician expected to finish that ticket. So this is very useful. It's not a promise time for a customer. It is when is the technician going to be done. So it takes into account how many hours are on the ticket, whether the technician's clocked into it or not, and how much work he's already put on it. It assumes he's going to complete it in about 4.4 hours. So the other thing on this screen is the job should be in priority order. The technician should be working on the top job, and then the next, and then the next. And that's what this screen is assuming when you look at the different times. So let's look at the tech advisor for a second. You notice this top job up here does not have a gray label. That's because it's in green, which means the work has been completed. Now, if I hover over it, you'll see all the jobs in the ticket, you'll see completed, and you'll notice that sometimes it has an asterisk and sometimes it doesn't. When it has an asterisk next to it, that means the technician has specifically gone in, they've clocked out of that job, they've clocked out, and then they've said that that job is completed. So asterisk means the technician specifically marked that job completed. If you see some completed with no asterisk, that means that at some point that ticket was moved into a completed state, meaning the work was completed, but then it was reopened and some other things were added onto it because it's still in an open state. So why is this green box on the screen? Well, it's because even though the technician completed the work, or all these jobs are done, nobody moved this ticket into the stage of completed work. So I'm going to show you a couple different places where you see that. So this is work order 74. If I go to my overview screen, I see work order 74. You'll notice it's still in the stage of in progress. Now, likely your shop has a process that once it's completed, there's a let's contact the customer, let him know that it's completed, ready to come in, etc. So because this job is still in progress, that could be an issue. So if I'm a service advisor working from this screen, I want to keep this as clean as possible. So I can easily click on this job once to highlight it, and there's an update status button right up here at the top. I'm going to update the status of that ticket to work completed. Now, when I do that, watch what happens. It disappears off this screen. Once that ticket is completed, you don't want to see it on the technician's list of jobs because they don't have anything left to do on that ticket. The only other time you may get that is if you look at this ticket 409 is actually in both columns. That means I have some jobs assigned to Tommy Tech and some jobs assigned to Tim. Tim has completed his work, but Tommy has not. So the ticket is going to remain on this screen until Tommy finishes and it's marked as completed. But for the time being, it's going to be green for Tim because he's completed it. And you'll notice there's no gray tag, which means it should not take him any additional time. So now I have Tech Advisor. Now he's working on the first job in the list. And the color coding is important. You'd like to see white, right? White means it's on track. This ticket is a 4.4-hour ticket, but it's going to be done in about, right now it's 12:22. It's going to be done at 1:11. So it's going to be done a little less than an hour because he's approximately 79% complete. Now, again, that gets accurate once he actually marks it as done. But for now, it's estimating he's going to be done at 1:11 p.m. Then he's going to work on this 0.3-hour ticket. He's going to be done with that by 1:30. and he currently doesn't have any work assigned for the afternoon. Let's go over to Tommy Tech. So he has his first ticket is a 1.1 hour ticket. I can tell he has not worked on it at all yet, but he is clocked in and working on this second ticket, the 4.9 hours. And if that's, it could be because he's waiting for parts or something else. As a service advisor, you probably want to click on this one. And one thing that you need to be aware of on this screen, you always need to click and highlight first, then click and drag. And if you notice that red line goes up to the top, now it flips the hours. He's going to, I'm telling the system this tech is working on this job until it's complete. So he's going to work on this. He should be complete at 3:06. The next job is going to be done at 4:13. Final job is currently 5:45. That's why it's in red. He's not going to be done by the 5 o'clock end time of my business. And you may have additional jobs even after this. Now, here's where the flags come in handy. I'm not sure how much people are using the flags, but they're a great tool. I have a flag for overnight with an O on it. If this ticket has a flag for overnight and it's in red, no problem. I know I'm keeping that car overnight, so I don't have to worry about the fact that it's in red. But if this ticket is not staying overnight, I've got to figure out what else to do. I'm not going to complete that in time. So let's say Tech Advisor, he has time this afternoon. So I'm going to click on this and drag it over to Tech Advisor. It warns me, so this is kind of nice. And my system's a demo system, so I run into situations like this a lot. But in this case, it's telling you Tommy has already marked that the Mountain Balance 4 tires has been completed. So it is not going to move the completed work over to Tech Advisor. Tommy is still going to get credit for it, which he should because he completed it, but it's going to move any uncompleted jobs over. Now you'll see that the ticket 409 is now on his list to do, and it's off Tommy's list. Now we don't have anything in red for those two techs. Now let me go over to Tim. Tim is clocked in to this job, but you see this big red block that says no work assigned from 12:24, which is now, to 3 p.m. So why is that? So first of all, we know this top one is in green, means he's finished the work, but just the service advisor has not marked that ticket complete yet. It's okay. It's not consuming any of his hours on this screen. But this ticket is an appointment at 3 o'clock. So this is basically incorrect because this appointment from 3 o'clock is being worked on. It must have come in early. So I can't, the way to think about this no work assigned is it's blank space. There's no way to move blank space. I can't just drag this out of the way and it will make this job go up. The only way to move this job up would be to open up the job and say, let me go ahead and double click. You can double click and jump to any ticket here and say, even though this appointment was at 3 o'clock, they showed up at noon. And I'm going to save and close. Now that I've updated that, you notice the space that said no work assigned disappeared because that job got moved up. He's working on it now. He's going to be done at 1:34. The next job is a 5.9 hour job, but it's done at 2:55. Well, I can see from this green bar that he's actually already worked on that a lot. He's only got a little bit left. So even though it's a 5.9 hour ticket, it tells me when he's going to be completed. So now I've got no red on my screen, and all my work has been assigned to technicians in a prioritized order. They're all working on the first one in the list, and I'm ready to go. I can also, on the left-hand side, you see unassigned tickets and scheduled to come in today. And I can easily assign these to techs right from this screen. This one is unassigned. I see that Tim J has the most time. So I'm going to click and drag and move this over to Tim J. By doing that, if I now open that ticket up, it's going to show that Tim J is the technician that's now assigned to those jobs. So it's a nice, easy way to assign that work to those technicians. And you can do the same thing for scheduled work. Once it comes in, if you drag it to a technician, it turns into in-progress work. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the other numbers on this screen. If you look under the Tech Advisor, you see this row of 4 numbers, and it's easy to forget what those mean. Just hover your mouse over and the pop-up shows you. The D is work hours. Now, again, remember the way we set this up is he's supposed to turn 6 hours. It's not that he's in the building 6 hours. Work hours remaining is 4.5 hours. And again, this is slightly off because we're basing it on how many hours he's going to turn, but it gets more accurate as you get to 5 o'clock. So he's got 4.5 work hours remaining. Assigned work is 6.3 hours, and assigned work remaining is 2.6 hours. So he's been assigned 6.3. He's got approximately 2.6 hours left to complete today. Now, Tommy Tech does not have the hours and available hours left because if I actually go to my schedule, I have him off on Wednesdays. So he did come in today, so I have jobs assigned to him, but it's not listing his scheduled hours because on the scheduler setup, I had him off on Wednesdays. Up at the top, it shows you the overall. So hours available is 9.1. That is the A total, the available hours left for Tech Advisor and Tim. And again, normally Tommy would have available hours as well. That's how many available technician hours you have left. Active work is the remaining work. So for Tech Advisor, Tommy Tech, and Tim, but that doesn't add up to 13.3. Well, it's all that work that's assigned to them, but it's also unassigned. It's also scheduled. So we have a 4-hour appointment scheduled for today. So that's being added into the active work. So this shows you your overall load for the day. And this automatically carries over to the next day. So if you wind up having more jobs assigned to a technician that he can finish today, he finishes everything he's able to, and whatever is on his list, when you go to tomorrow, it will automatically carry that job over, and it'll be the first one on his list for tomorrow. Okay, let me pause there. I've kind of gone through a lot of stuff. And if anyone in the chat would like to ask a question, please go ahead and post the question in there. And while we're waiting for some questions, I guess the biggest thing that I ask is that if you have not been using this screen, if you have not been scheduling this way, I highly recommend that you get your team on board and try to do this for a couple days and see how it works for you. I've had this discussion with a number of shops over the last couple weeks. To be honest, as I have grasped more how Protractor was designed to be scheduled, I think I'm able to better describe this to shops, and I've gotten some shops to try this, and they found that it works pretty well. It does require buy-in from the service advisors because this screen is managed by the service advisors, so you can't be fighting over it, but it should be a shared distribution center for how I'm distributing jobs to the techs. Some shops have a production manager that handles all the distribution of the techs, and they may be doing the screen by themselves. I also have a couple shops that have basically this screen, and this screen refreshes automatically. They have this screen posted for the service advisors, like on the wall on a computer monitor, so the service advisors can keep track of all the technicians for the day. And I've got other shops that'll put this out in the shop so the technicians can see, because in the technician view in Protractor, technicians can see only the jobs that have been assigned to them. With this screen up on a monitor, the technicians will see not only what's assigned to them, but what other people have. They can see if somebody's overloaded, if they can help out, etc. So it can work very well. It just requires getting used to it, because if you don't manage this screen, it gets out of order. So techs aren't working on the top priority job, and that then causes confusion. The colors start turning red for no reason, and so manage this like you're going to manage how you're distributing jobs to techs. This is how you manage today's work. The scheduler screen is to book future days to the right load. This is how you manage today's work. All right, so we have a question. On the tech view, what is the best practice for when a tech needs to do jobs A and B on a car this morning, and then work on another car at lunch, then finish jobs C and D on the first car again in the afternoon? So that's a great question because you have one ticket with 4 jobs on it, but it's split between 2 different things. So what he's going to wind up doing, and it really just depends on how much you want to remap this. Let's say this top ticket here is the 4 jobs, there's the 4 jobs on it, and he's working on it right now. So he's complete. I can see from this list he's completed the cabin air filter, but nothing else yet. When he finishes those first 2 jobs and starts working on the next ticket, you can either, and actually I could say probably the best thing to do, well, let me show you this in a real world example. And I'm not sure how many people know this, but if you ever need to bring up a second instance of Protractor to log in as a tech and a service advisor at the same time, you have to do it this way. You right click on Protractor on the taskbar. It has to be on the taskbar. And you click Protractor.net Shop Manager. And ideally, you are your Protractor database is your default database. And that, like, if you have a demo, it could come up as a demo. We can fix that. And then he can log in as Tommy. And so I basically now have multiple instances of my database running at the same time. So in this example, we're going to say he's going to stop work on this ticket. He's going to start working on the next one. So he was on 515. I'm going to double click on 525. This is the technician view. This could be a separate webinar, but this allows the technician to see what's going on. Pick a job to start working on it. He's going to go do the oil change on this ticket. And it asks me, hey, you were working on this other job. Is it completed? The entire work order is completed, or it's not completed. I have to go back to it. In this case, we'll say the water pump job was completed. And that's the little technician wizard over here that helps you clock in and out of jobs. So save and close. I'm going to go back to my screen, and it will refresh automatically in a minute or two. I'm just going to go ahead and click refresh. So now you see Tommy Tech is now working on this ticket. If I leave it this way, what you see is wrong is the labels. This says he's done at 3 o'clock and this is 4:07, because even though he's working on the second one, it's thinking he's going to go back to the first one before he finishes the second one. In this case, I would click and highlight this job. This is now his top priority job, and now it updates the labels correctly. He's going to finish this one at 1:41 p.m. Then he's going to go back to this job, and you see the cabin air filter and the water pump have been completed, but he's got 3 more jobs that still need to be done, and he's going to finish that up after he's finished work order 525. So hopefully that helps explain. And it was a good example because it's a real world type thing. Technician works on this, has to go work on a different car. When he switches to work on that other car, the technician sees, or I'm sorry, the service advisor sees it on this screen. They see the little clock icon move, and then knowing what that technician is doing, they put that job up on the top now, and it correctly reorders the screen and gives you, once again, a live indication of when each of those cars should be done. So a customer calls in and says, I'm Robert Devereaux, when's my car going to be done? You can give them an approximate idea, obviously guard band it, but it keeps those numbers accurate. So you can give customers, if needed, an idea of when their vehicle is going to be done, even if they're the 3rd vehicle down in the list. This customer is going to be done around 3:25. One comment on the clocking in and out. Even if you use a digital inspection program like Auto Vitals, Auto Serve One, Auto Text Me, all of those programs have tech time clocks, and they integrate back with Protractor. So if you clock onto a job in one of those systems, it will, in Protractor, show that they're clocked into that job. Will this prioritize for Auto Serve One on the DVI screen? So no, it doesn't do that. So I just commented the time clock, if you clock in on there, it will clock them in on this Protractor screen, but dragging the order here does not reprioritize it on the Auto Serve One screen or on any of the third-party screens. So if you're using one of those systems to actually manage the distributing the jobs of the techs, then you can do it there and not here. If you're not using them to distribute the jobs, I would do it here. And that's a situation where you may want to have this on a screen in the shop. So even though AutoServe 1 may have things in a certain order, they can look on this screen and see what they're supposed to be working on next. There's a question, just a quick recap on setting up the tech hours. So I went to Setup, searched for hours, and I went to Employee Hours and Schedule Overview. And actually, I guess I went to the Schedule Overview, so I showed I can set up technicians for that day. I didn't actually go to the hours and show how to do it. So let's go to Tim. You can set up how many hours, and again, this should be how many hours he's going to turn in the day. He works Monday through Friday, and he's going to turn 8 hours. Well, let's say, you know what, Tim's gotten better. He's now turning 9 hours a day, so I want to change this. The nice thing is I can change this to 8 a.m. Now it's 9 hours. Well, I don't have to do that 10 times. I can just highlight that. I'm doing Control-C to copy on my keyboard, Control-V to paste it, Control-V to paste it, and I just updated all his hours to 9. So again, the Control-C, Control-V work on this screen. You do one day the way you want it, and then you can paste it to the other days. And now he's loaded at 9 hours a day. So if I go to my overall schedule, instead of 24 hours, I have 25 hours available in the day. So that's how to set up the employee hours. Let me make sure I cover the colors. I think I covered all of them, but we always get questions on the color, so I'll do it again. White means on track. It means it's going to be finished by the promised time. It's going to be finished by the end of the day. Orange, and the other thing is, if you just hover your mouse over, you typically see why the color is what it is. If I hover over the orange one, you see the bold type. So hover and look for the bold. It's in orange because it won't be completed by the promised time. This ticket was actually promised yesterday, so we're already past the promised time, but it's not red because it's still going to be done today. If it wasn't going to be done till after 5 o'clock, it would turn red. The green in general means the job's been completed. There's nothing for him to do on that ticket. And again, the no work assigned is more of a blank space. It's not an actual thing. It's a highlight that this technician has a couple hours available between when he should be done and the end of the day. So if you want to fill that time up, you can. You get rid of that red by filling up that time with something else. You can't move the red, the no work assigned red. How do we edit employee hours for time off, vacation, or doc's appointment? Good question. So I go to this employee schedule, and let's say tomorrow, Tim tells me he's got a doc's appointment. He's taking the day off. So I have Thursday selected here. Tells you right here as well, Thursday, April 2nd. Shows me my technicians. I select Tim Jones. I'm going to go to Action, Edit, and he has the day off. So by doing that, he's got the day off here. It took his hours off this screen, and it was just that day. It didn't change his schedule for the next 2 weeks. It just changed that one day. So some shops will also go to their scheduler and put an appointment on there saying, Tim is off that day. But that's the way to do it. You can also block out a day. So let's say I go to this, my schedule. Let's see where I'm going to do this. Schedule overview for the shop. I'm trying to remember where blocking out for the day was. I think it is that day. So we know that for next Wednesday I'm overbooked. So I can go to setup on Wednesday the 8th, and I'm going to have to check. Oh, actually it's the shop. That's where schedule Wednesday the 8th. There's where I can do it. And I can add, and I can say fully booked on the 8th and say, okay, now that shows as fully booked. When I go to the scheduler, let's refresh that. actually the prioritization. I go to the 8th and make sure you save your changes. That's why it didn't show up. I go back to my prioritization and I go to the 8th, and I should get a badge up here at the top saying that that is fully booked. For some reason, I'm not getting that. There we go. So I had to save it and set up that. You'll get a badge at the top of that day saying fully booked, so people know not to book any more appointments for that day. All right. And go back to today. All right. Any other questions? All right. I hope this webinar was useful. Again, please try scheduling through this screen and see how that works for you. And please let me know. Send me an email or a note and let me know if that started working for you, if you like it, if there's anything that you want to change. For example, these green bars that show how much is done, that's a recent feature that was added about a month ago. I think it's a great improvement to the screen. So if you have other suggestions, please send those my way as well. Question, is there a way to do different configurations right off the scheduler screen? Not at this point. So the setup is used to configure employee schedules and like to fully book the day for the shop. The scheduler itself is used to actually book the appointments. All right, this recording will be available in the user group, and once I end the meeting, you'll get a brief survey. Please fill that out and give us some feedback. We love doing these webinars. We want to make sure they're useful for you. So we're always trying to get better, and you can suggest topics for the future webinars. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.